Morning, guys, and welcome to the Fife Property Show. Beautiful Saturday morning, and today we have a brilliant topic to talk about, and that is letting agents and how to find the best one. To help me this morning, we have Jim Parker, who is Investor Landlord, joining us. Morning, Jim.
Morning. This is going to be a short show because you've got him here.
This is a really good topic, and I think you'll have a lot of input for this one, Jim, so that's good. And we've also got property manager Charlotte Caird here today. So morning, Charlotte.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Brilliant, yeah. Brilliant topic, letting agents and how to pick the best one. So I'm just going to kick off, and whether you've been a landlord for years or you're just starting out, finding a letting agent you can trust and build a long-lasting relationship with is a big deal. Renting out property is much more about money and business, as well as wanting an agent who can find you the perfect tenant. You're sure to have feelings around confidence, connection, and communication. None of these are financial concerns, but our experience tells us that they're prized by our landlords. Letting agents will be competing for your business left, right, and centre. So how do you begin the selection process? Having a list of standards is a good place to start, and the following 5 factors will help you narrow down the field and choose the best letting agent for you. Now, what's your thoughts on this now that obviously we've got different topics and these 5 different factors that help you do the selection process? But Jim, your input on picking the perfect agent.
It's not an easy gig for someone, in the beginning. When you're a novice landlord, you just look at every letting agent and think, okay, they're a letting agent. But what you don't realise that there is no real, I suppose Letwell is an accreditation for letting agents, and that's fine. And we're Letwell accredited, that's okay. But the minimum standards for Letwell is one person in the organisation needs to be Letwell trained and qualified. So you could have an agency with 100 letting agents. And if one person is qualified as a Letwell agent, that's good enough for the government. Yeah. So, it's a minefield about picking the right letting agent and understanding how that person is, because all you see on the face of it is just it's all about fees. I mean, a lot of people just argue about fees all the time, and we'll probably talk about that anyway. But the differential and the extra 1% that you're going to pay could make a fundamental difference into you losing hundreds of pounds if you don't pick the right letting agent. For me, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I mean, the Letwell qualification is a brilliant thing. When it come around, like you say, we did all do the Letwell qualification. And we didn't realise at the time that it was just one agent in each office, and all their staff, the letting staff, done it. But
I actually did, Richard. I did realise it was only one person in the company that needed to be qualified, but I felt at the time that it was necessary to get everybody qualified. You can't stick your neck out and be the ultimate letting agency and the #1 in the UK and in Scotland if you don't have everybody qualified up to at least the minimum standards in terms of legislation, in terms of accreditation. And for me, that's a big thing. You know that yourself.
No, of course.
It is all about raising the standards and raising the bar all the time, every single time. World-class service and world-class results.
Oh, definitely. And I think as well, the Letwell training taught quite a lot to our staff as well. I mean, notice periods and things changing, and there's a lot of changes, and it keeps you on point with what is the correct procedures for doing things. And we've seen the benefits of having the Letwell qualification. But I think a big part as well, as local knowledge and obviously experience and things, all go hand in hand with having the perfect, well, I say the perfect agent, but you know what I mean, an agent who is worthy of obviously looking after your property correctly.
I thought you were talking about me there when you said the perfect agent. Oh, you're going to get it big time this morning, I'll tell you. I'm in one of these moods.
God.
Yeah, Charlotte, and all the different aspects, but obviously picking the right letting agent.
I think so. There has to be like a likability. You've got to like who you're picking. You've got to have that friendship with them, so that you feel like you can go to them about the smallest little details, and it not be an issue. I definitely think likability comes into it as well.
I mean, you'll definitely know working in property management how you build up friendship relationships with landlords and things, and that's the best way to do it.
That's it. I mean, I've got a couple of landlords. I could just phone up to have a quick chat about the weather.
Yeah.
You know.
No, we don't just. There was a landlord we spoke to. Sorry, there was a landlord we spoke to yesterday, Charlotte, and it was we phoned just, and it wasn't bad news, and she's like, "Oh, I thought there was something wrong." I said, "We don't always just phone you with bad news."
Well,
yeah, definitely. But like I mentioned there, the different factors in being a good letting agent is obviously knowing the area and having local knowledge, and I think that brings us to the first section, which is location, location, location. Now, it might sound really obvious, but choosing an agent close to your rental property makes sound business sense. Letting agents who live and breathe an area are best equipped to rent your property quickly and for many reasons. These reasons are obviously they'll always be nearby for viewings, which for letting agents can be last minute. They all know how last minute viewings can be for rentals. And they also have a list of potential tenants looking for property just like yours. And I think in the current market, and now more than ever, we do have lists of people that are looking because of the short supply available properties at the moment.
It's fever pitch just now. It's absolutely unbelievable what the market's like just now, in terms of the numbers. I mean, you know, go ahead and keep talking, Richard. I'm just going to quickly look up Rightmove and actually, or Zoopla is actually probably a better one. Get some, see how many is available right across Fife just now.
Okay. They'll know exactly what rents are achievable to keep your income flowing. They'll know about the transport links as well as the best places to eat, drink and shop. And they'll have a pool of local contractors who can help you with precision presentation and repairs. Now, contractors, Charlotte, obviously you deal with contractors every day. Yeah. We have a plethora of contractors, and we have our group of really reliable contractors who competitively price things and do things for us like last minute.
Really last minute.
Yeah. I mean, what's your experience with the contractors and having?
I think having local contractors, like the other day we had a massive flood on one of our properties, and we know there's a guy, one of our contractors, he lives 2 minutes down the road. We can just phone him and say, you need to go, and they go so fast in the heartbeat. They'll be there sorting it out. And I think having local contractors and using not big companies is a massive factor of why I think our property management team is so successful.
Yeah. I mean, reliable contractors is a big thing for us. And I think that's beneficial to landlords as well, because a lot of landlords don't have the connections or know the local contractors that are maybe going to be the best at doing the job or going to do it quick enough. And that's a good part of having a letting agent in place who's got a contractor list like that. And we have built that over a lot of years and rely on it a lot. Jim, you got figures for us?
Yeah, just share that screen if you can, Richard.
Yep.
I mean, when you look at that, 85 properties up for rent right across Fife. That's across Fife. There's 170,000 households right across Fife. There's 370,000 people in Fife. Yeah. And there's only 85 properties from agents actually available for let. It's fever pitch now.
Yeah. I mean, to look at that figure, I mean, 85 in the whole of Fife, it's no wonder we have lists of people that are just crying out for property. And it's everything from 1 beds to 5 bed detached properties we've got people looking for. So, I mean, we really are crying out for available properties to try and meet this demand at the moment. So,
do you think that's going to change though? Do you think that's going to change in the short term?
I don't think in the short term, obviously.
Unless I buy more property.
Unless you keep buying property.
I'm getting carried away, I think I'm on number 8 or 9 since the beginning of the year.
I think you're about number 8. So
I'm looking to buy portfolios next, so if anybody's up for it.
Well, that's good, Jim, because the more properties you buy, the more tenants we can get into them, because we've got people knocking down the door for property, so it's good. So yeah, and we keep promoting to landlords and investors if they're looking to expand their portfolios and buy properties, that now is the time, definitely. So just to continue on this bit, ask about the size of the area your agent covers. Are they truly local experts, or are they spreading themselves too thin? Nobody can be in 2 places at once, and a random smattering of properties that are a long way from each other can mean travelling long distances between appointments. This cuts down on the number of viewings an agent can attend to and dilutes their local expertise and profile. And I think that is a good point to make. I think obviously we are Fife Properties. Fife in general isn't a vast place, but we have offices located in all the main towns within the kingdom, really. So it allows us to facilitate being a letting agent in these different areas. I think that's really important as well. Would you agree with that, Jim?
I mean, but more importantly, it's actually being able to be proactive and actually be on the spot when you need them.
Yeah.
It is actually having people that work and live in the area. That's key and essential to how we operate. And I've never ever bought anything outside of my control that I can't travel to myself, because and this is 30 years of experience coming forward here, why you don't buy outside your area. Unless you've got an outstanding letting agent, that's really what it comes down to. This is what we're talking about just now. Yeah. Unless you have an outstanding letting agent that can perform as good as you can, if not better than you can, that's the only reason that you would want to buy outside of your area if that letting agent's in that area. Yeah. And this is why we often attract investors for Fife, because, well, hopefully we're outstanding. Well, I do it tongue in cheek when I say it. But it's the I think we're on the 11 times letting agent of the year with the Estes. Now that's got to stand for something, for the very fact it's not us doing it, it's not a panel voting for us, it's actually our existing landlords that are voting for us. And as a result of that, the group itself is sitting at a 98% approval rating. So what does that tell us? We're doing something right. But more importantly, I think it's because we're on our doorstep. So it's actually choosing the right letting agent. So if you, for example, a lot of the guys are up in Aberdeen, they're buying in Aberdeen because it's a good market. The low prices up there, the rent, the yields or the net yields and the returns you can get on up there are really good. But it's actually getting a real good letting agent up in Aberdeen to perform, to make sure your investment's looked after. I would now rather be a passive investor landlord rather than actually be a hands-on landlord. So it's a landlord or the investor. It's the two things. An investor basically, you take care of it as a letting agent. The landlord is like, well, I'm actually wanting to go around and do the repairs. I'm wanting to get involved a wee bit in what we're doing. And to be honest, I would think your time is more productive used doing something else rather than actually trying to be a letting agent landlord. I know people like to dabble, and it's the idea of getting involved and helping people, and that's why they're getting into it. But to be honest, probably don't be a landlord for that reason. That's not because that'll eat up all your time in terms of what you're doing. And literally for the price of a cup of coffee every single day, you can have somebody doing it for you. I mean, we worked out like £2.50 or something. £2.50 a day to have somebody look after your property, and you've got nothing else to do with it. And when you think about the logic of that and what I'd done in the 10 years and the price increases before, the last 10 years, an average house in Fife has gone up 46%. So if your average house is £100,000, it's just over £100,000 actually. You've actually made £46,000, and you've actually not got any. You've not done anything for it. You've actually just bought a property 10 years ago, given it to us, or given it to another letting agent. I didn't want to be biased here. Talk about us all the time. After all, it's about choosing the best letting agent. However, maybe I'm biased. Well, it's local knowledge. I mean, nobody has the 30 years experience I have. And if anybody's got it, come and tell me and I'll challenge you. That's the reality. Because I'll know a hell of a lot more than you do.
I think local knowledge definitely is a big factor. And a lot of good points you made there, Jim. And I think the analogy of the price of a cup of coffee every day for somebody to look after your investment is a really good way to put it. And that's basically what it is. And to take all the stress away for that price is great. I've got a couple of comments here about Cairns and just saying having a good relationship with contractors is key, especially when you need a last minute repair. Definitely. Cairn. Morning, Angela. Angela's asked a question, but it's a wee bit lengthy, so I'll maybe leave that to the end if we've got time, Angela. But I'm going to move on to the next section, which is pretend to be a tenant. And there's no better way of finding out what a company is really like than posing as a customer. This is obviously comes down to like mystery shopping and things. As a landlord and a possible client, letting agents will be going all out to impress you but you also need to know how they talk to their potential tenants. Take a look at your agent's website and find a property to inquire about. Then prepare a few questions that aren't covered in the description to test their knowledge in customer service. You're not looking to be awkward or catch them out. You're simply doing some fact finding.
Oh, that's a good one, eh?
Yes. Around the experience of dealing with them, if you don't feel comfortable making the call yourself, ask a friend to do it. So it's always what I mean, and it's back to obviously the days of mystery shopping and things, Jim, and you'll be familiar with that, and as am I.
All the time. I mystery shop and test every single letting agent and estate agent in Fife every single time, and it's amazing where I see the differences in what we do and what they do. And some of them, I tell you what, though, some of them do actually really well.
Definitely
do some things exceptionally well, and I think, oh, we could do that, and I incorporate that into what we're doing into our system. So there is things to learn from other letting agents, but you're absolutely right. That's a good one. Pose as a tenant for the first time and actually test them. So there's nothing wrong with doing that about a property that they've got up for let.
Your questions should be easy to answer without someone needing to call you back. Try asking what parking is like on the street, how much passing traffic there is, or how noisy the neighbourhood is at night. You can't find out those answers on Google Maps, and a good letting agent will know their stuff. Look for how long it takes the agent to answer the phone, then for how polite, professional, and interested they are. Do they have an obvious knowledge of the property you've inquired about? That's a good topic, and I'm going to pick up on that when I finish this. But do they invite you to view or ask about the type of home you're looking to rent, and how does your experience leave you feeling? Like you've made a new friend, or like you've interrupted someone's day? Now that comes back to obviously building up relationships with potential tenants and landlords and things. But I think as well, when you phone up, and it's quite important that you actually speak to someone who's got knowledge of the actual property. And I think Charlotte and Karen will know this as well. I think it's important that you've at least visited a property if you're trying to let it and also manage it. I mean, how are you meant to let or manage a property that you've never been in and seen? And I think that is important. Would you agree with that, Charlotte?
Yeah, definitely. Because they're 100% they're going to ask questions. Number one, where's the boiler? If you don't know where the boiler is when you're viewing, you look just as daft as the next person that walks through the door. So definitely going in there, getting eyes on first before doing any viewings is what you need to do.
Yeah, I think it's so much an easier process when you answer the phone and you're speaking to someone and they do ask things like, oh, what's the parking like? Or is it a quiet neighbourhood? Or what are the neighbours like? And if you've not got a clue how to answer any of the questions, then it's not going to, you're not off to a good start. Do you agree with that, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. This is why, and I'll go back to saying, this is why I had a 99.9% occupancy rate when I was doing it all myself. I actually moved into one of the supposed worst streets in Methil, and I actually lived there for 5 years. And I was a company director at the time, and I had a brand new Mercedes car that sat out the front, and everybody went, "Oh, really?" It's like, I can't believe you've actually done that. And it's like, I lived there for 5 years. There was nothing wrong with it. It was a fantastic street. Nobody ever bothered you. But this so-called reputation it had was a myth. It was a myth that everybody had created over the years, I think just probably for something to talk about. So I had a great knowledge and understanding of the area, and I still do now as a result, because I'm always in these neighbourhoods. Even as an estate agent, I'm in these neighbourhoods as well. As an investor landlord, I'm in these neighbourhoods as well. I sit on various housing panels, local groups, and all the rest of it. So you get to understand areas as a result of what you're doing and what you're involved in terms of the community. So I would absolutely 100% agree with you and what you're saying. It's all about understanding knowledge in the area. It gives you that edge over everybody else in terms of what you're doing. So that's the best letting agent to look out for as a result of that.
Yeah, a mixture of local knowledge and actual knowledge about the properties that they're trying to let. These are all key factors, I think, in having the right process. And if you didn't get that feel, and I think if you mystery shop your own agent and you don't get that, then that is something to be concerned about, I think, especially when they're dealing with one of your tax-free assets. I mean, as your rental properties in your portfolio, and you should feel comfortable and confident enough that your letting agent and your management agent is able to do that correctly and has the knowledge of your property. And I think the internals of the property, like you say, Charlotte, where's the boiler? How do you turn the water off? Where's the meters? Do you know what, I mean, all these things that you get asked on a daily basis, you should be able to answer. And I mean, we manage a fair amount of properties, Charlotte, but it's amazing how much knowledge you keep up in your head.
I'm shocked at the amount of knowledge I can keep in my head now. When I first started this job, I thought, oh my lord. But now it comes to you like that.
Yeah.
Really does.
I mean, the bank knowledge in my head about individual properties is quite surprising.
Even understanding about the boilers and how they work.
Yeah.
It's like, is that a CDI 24?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what you should do. Is that a combi or is it a system boiler? Oh, it's a system boiler. Okay, so this is what's going to happen, and this is what you need to do to rectify that issue. And you could actually, for me, I could actually see it in my mind, and I could actually walk people through that process on the other end of the phone, and how to do that. So you know, that's it's just that knowledge and understanding.
Morning, James.
But I suppose when you think about it, as an investor or a landlord, if you've only got 1 or 2 properties, to be honest, do you really want to know all that? It's like just let a letting agent do it. It's because then you've got to. It's if you're looking for something to do, go out and earn something that earns you money, more money than what you'd pay a letting agent to do it, if that's the case. Or go and do something exciting in your life. Didn't be a letting agent.
But I mean, every day is different, but I think all these things, I mean, like you're talking about, obviously boilers, I mean, the big ones, boiler pressure. I mean, how many calls do we get about boiler pressure?
And it's the same error codes every single time. I'm just like, right, okay, we know what to do now.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it's like the different.
Knowing this information can save them the landlord or investor money by us not having to send contractors out and being able to talk it through on the phone. You know.
And knowing the different boilers and the different, obviously, filling loops and things, or how to top up that pressure, and advising. I mean, advising tenants for the get go. I mean, as the important thing. But being able to identify that when they phone in, that's the problem, because they should be able to do that themselves. And if they don't, then it's going to be a costly call out just for something that's a really simple fix and could have been avoided. And that's just a really common one. So we'll move on to promotion and performance. To be sure of reaching the best selection of tenants, your property needs to be on at least one of the national portals. So ask about an agent's choice of channel and why they made the decision. Now, that's an interesting one. We're obviously speaking about the portals, obviously, i.e. Rightmove, Zoopla, but we'll expand on that when we finish talking about this section. Agents have varied results with different portals, so one isn't necessarily right over another. What matters most is whichever portal your agent has chosen will get you the right result. Now take a look at how they describe the homes they rent and their descriptions, enthusiastic and information. Lettings can be fast moving, so they don't need to be War and Peace, or even Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Is it not the Philosopher's Stone?
It's America. It's Sorcerer's Stone. Caught you out there,
I know that I'm a Harry Potter fan, but I just picked up on that there. But they should at least be clear and helpful, and they should make you want to view the property. Now, I think obviously a big thing now is obviously talking about the portals. I think as well as portals, you need to be looking at obviously social media.
Well, Facebook is a portal.
Well, it is. It's the new platform.
Facebook is the new thing. It's like I mean, the portals are old hat. The portals are really the equivalent of radio now. Even going on to the point, in 5 or 10 years' time, they'll be equivalent to newspapers. You know, in terms of technology, because they can't keep up with instant reactions. And social media and Instagram and Twitter and even YouTube and LinkedIn are all platforms that are instant. They're instant. They're instant reactions. They're instant results. They're live. They're on the spot in that moment. Breaking news. By the time you've uploaded it to a portal now, like Rightmove or Zoopla and that, it's probably gone. So you know, when I did that 85 there the now. I mean, that was 85 a couple of weeks ago, but we've been renting properties like they're going out of fashion before they've actually gone on a portal. So by the time they go on, that that portal, it's like, well, we'll put it on, but we'll put it on as let agreed. So I would tell everyone else out there, if you're a tenant looking for a property, then you need to follow our Facebook pages, because you'll see them there first. If you're a landlord investor and you're looking, well, we have our own private landlord investors group now. We're developing for people to pass on our knowledge and our expertise and what they should be buying, what they shouldn't be buying. So that's another instant form of communication straight away. I'm literally, communicating with people daily on a daily basis as if they're lifting the phone, but it's through Messenger.
Yeah, I think we've seen just more and more the interaction we're getting in, from social media is amazing.
Rightmove can't do that. Zoopla can't do that. You can't interact with people straight away on these platforms. They've lost their market now.
It's instant communication, and I think as well, just more and more we see with lettings and sales that stuff's not even making it to the portals, and we've got it. It's away. It's gone, and that's why we can't emphasise enough. And I do reiterate to everybody: if you're looking for a property for sale or for rent in a specific area, you need to follow the Facebook page relevant to that area to get the instant live update. Because if you're not, then you've missed it. You've missed the train. You've missed it. So. That is a very important thing. Charlotte, you've seen the developments with social media in recent over the last year.
Well, that's it. I think I did a video not that long ago of a refurb, and during that refurb, the property was let because the person was like, "No, I'll just take it. I'll take it now if needs be."
Yeah.
It's crazy. There just is not.
But then when you think about it, Charlotte, that's experience and expertise. That this is a track record I've done for years. I've often advertised a property when I'm doing a refurb. Now that even the properties I'm buying just now, I'm actually concluding missives. I'm refurbing the property before I'm actually over the line with it, because I've concluded the missives. I refurb the property, we'll advertise the property while I'm refurbing it, and we've got a tenant almost to move in the day I actually buy it, maximising the return from day one.
Yeah, minimising or eliminating void period, really. And instant income as soon as the property is ready to go, basically. And that's the best way to do it. Yeah. And we've done that with a few years recently, Jim, and there's a few more to go.
Yeah. I must put you through your task, though. It's like, I've got another two, I've got another one.
No, I'm glad it's more properties to
another one pops up.
And finally, ask your agent about the results. What's their average time it takes to find a tenant? Do homes like yours rent quicker or faster than others? Can they show you examples of successful recent lettings? And be wary of false promises. Look for answers that are believable and realistic. And I think that is an important point to make about the timeframes of letting a property. It's the golden question that everybody asks, and I think generally I used to always feel about maybe a realistic time frame is maybe 4 to 6 weeks. God, I would probably tell them a week now.
minus 3? Minus 3 days maybe, we can get minus anymore. Because effectively you can get that. There is a lot of knowledge and expertise here again, and you can't believe it, but I actually managed to get 120% occupancy out of a property one year. Mm-hmm. Charlotte's confused. Well, yeah, I did. I got 120% occupancy rate out of a property. Well, I only tell that to my landlord. I was just going to say, you wish to share that secret, Jim? I'm not going to tell that one publicly how to do that, but that's just for a personal investor group. The landlords and people that come with us. James actually says a good comment there. If you put that up on the screen. Good strategy. I'm about to offer another property in Glenoffice, so the approach sounds interesting. Yeah, absolutely, James. I would do that in a heartbeat. Ask that once you've offered on it, it's been accepted, just say, is there any chance I could actually conclude missives? And if I conclude missives, can you ask the owner, if it's an empty property, if I can get in to start my refurb? And then get on with it now. And then while you're doing your refurb, we can nip round and we could do a video there straight there and then and saying, this is what's happening to this property. This is what it's going to go up for rent as if you're a person. And then that way we're able to pick and choose the right person for that property, ready to move in the day that you actually conclude on it.
Yeah, definitely, James. I'm doing that. There's another investor that a property in Glenoffice as well, actually, funnily enough, and just concluded missives. I've been in there. The selling agent gave me access. We've got things lined up. We have tenants already looking to take the property. They're actually overspelled for a similar property, and it's so. I mean, it swings and roundabouts, and I think if you're ahead of the game like that, like you say, it's instant income from the day obviously exchange, basically. Really,
it's instant income, but it's also attracting the right tenant. Because the tenant, you know, the person that's actually wanting the property sees that you're obviously a good landlord because of the amount of investment you're putting into it, and you're getting more or less everything new. I mean, you know, we could talk about Park of Wine. It was a new bathroom, new kitchen, new floor coverings, new boiler, new radiators, paint and decorated all the way through, and we're done. You know, that's effectively the standard, and double glazing. So, so that's kind of the benchmark that you want to try and achieve. Admittedly, you can't do that all the time. Sometimes there's some bits. I mean, you know, I think when that one I did the double glazing maybe about 10 years ago, but it's still great UPVC double glazing.
Yeah, it's still in good condition in that one. Yeah, I mean,
it's a bit weird because I actually went out of my way to make sure the outside actually matched everybody else's windows. Because it was a local authority building, so I matched it by doing brown on the outside, and then the local authority put double glazing and changed it all to white. Thanks for that. So I actually went out of my way to make sure it's all in keeping with the area, and then they went, "No, we're just changing ours to white." Oh, thanks. Okay. Will that not look daft?
Maybe a budget thing. I don't know.
But I would say it's a stupid thing, to be honest. But who am I to say that about the local authority?
Yeah, the turnaround of that property was amazing. I mean, the finished products it looks great. I mean, Charlotte, you orchestrated all that, and it was a job well done. Yeah, it looks lovely.
Love it. And you know what? It was so fast. I think from the second the contractor stepped in, for near enough the whole property was ripped out. Everything was put back in. I think it was 4 weeks.
Yeah, and the end result's just amazing. It does look really good, and we've got really good tenants for it.
Having the right contractors is good, though.
Yeah, and that goes back to having the right contractors and people that will do things for you quickly, and they respond quickly, and obviously do it at the competitive prices. I mean, pricing and things have obviously increased for what they used to be. And what's James saying here?
Fashionable grey on the UPVC, and that's fine. You know, that's in just now.
Yeah, definitely, James. And I think grey is the new, well, with my decor behind me. The grey colour is definitely in, and I think it's the grey and whites and things.
I'm going to lead a campaign to bring back Magnolia.
Magnolia.
Jim,
I think Magnolia
days. Please do not bring back
Magnolia walls, white skirtings and facings, white ceilings, and beige carpets. Bring it back. It's like I'm gonna run a political party.
I will not be voting.
I think as well, and the darker grey carpet.
I'll get all the old school people voting.
Wood chip and Magnolia walls.
There you go. Avocado bathroom suite.
Bathroom,
It does it every time. I'll say James Pampas Green. That's the one. Pampas Green and Whisper Grey. I tell you what though, Whisper Grey is back in fashion. You know, don't knock it. The grey bathroom suites are back. I actually have one, so I'm now ultra trendy.
James says Pampas grass.
Oh dear.
But yeah, and I think the dark grey carpets is a good thing. I think it's good as well because they hide a multitude of things. Obviously, I mean, daily wear and tear on carpets. I mean, I think like you see, it used to be the Magnolia walls and the beige carpet, but a beige carpet could take quite a beating in a rental property and could need to be replaced a lot more often than maybe a darker carpet. So it's good that the darker grey colour has come back into fashion. So especially in rental properties. So we will move on. Communication and care. Something we often hear from our landlords is how much they feel they matter to us. You can't put a price on sentiment like that, and you deserve the same. When you're speaking to agents, ask for details of their service standards to ensure that whatever they are offering is compatible with what you need. And I think that's an important point. I think that what you are providing and what you're doing for the landlord is what they're actually what they set out to have done for them. And it's kind of managing expectation. as well. I mean, well, it is managing expectation. I mean, Charlotte, you'll obviously deal with landlords every day. Well, we both do. But for the property management side of things, obviously doing things that are relevant to the individual landlord and meeting the expectation is a big part of your role.
Yeah, it can sometimes be difficult as well, because I think landlords have quite a high expectation, and there'll be 1 or 2 times that you can't meet it. There'll be something wrong with the tenant and we can't come to an agreement, and they're like, well, you should be able to do that. I'm just like, but it's slightly difficult, but we'll get there. But yeah, managing expectation can be tricky.
Yeah, but I mean, that's all part of the problem solving of property management, and
it's a training we talk about as well.
Yeah, and I've just got to say, yeah, training and things to continually train and build and develop yourself and your skills and how to deal with situations like that. And the self-gratification when you actually resolve things and you have a happy landlord, a happy tenant, and things are, I mean, that is all part of the daily tasks, and doing that is quite satisfying when you get the end result. I mean, Jim, you probably have a lot of instances where you've managing expectations and managing people's expectations of you as an agent as well.
Obviously, you know, from the point of well, let's be honest, some people are actually delusional in their approach to things, and some people are not like that at all. But it's actually bringing them down to earth. Yeah. I think that's again where it comes back to expertise and skill. I mean, you have your 3 services. You've got a tenant find, you've got your let only, you've got your managed service. But ideally, you know, we'd always said to people, look, to be honest, you'd be better just going for managed service, because there's a hell of a raft of legislation to learn now. But it's what they don't know what they don't know. And that's the difficulty. And sometimes, you know, myself included, I want to know everything I want to know before I make a decision about a circumstance. Because that's just me. Some other landlords or investors are like, well, just get on with it. You know what you're doing. That's fine. But I want to know that answer, and I need to know the ins and outs of why it is that decision and why it's not that decision. So I think it's actually, when we go to managing people's expectations, it's been able to get them over the line to understand that they have to do certain things to comply with legislation, and if they don't, then they could end up being culpable. A classic example is, you know, if somebody did die as a result of carbon monoxide poisoning because you didn't have your gas certificate in place, it's not your letting agent that goes to jail, it's you. Even though you're the investor and the land, if you're an investor and you've got no hands, you're not taking responsibility for it at all, because it's the letting agent dealing with it, you're the one that goes to jail. It's not the letting agent. You're the one that's the criminal charge against, because you own the property. So it's actually understanding that. So on the face of it, as when you talked about that, about it's the communication, it's often people just see these 3 services, but they don't realize that the skill and experience that the letting agent has is probably more important in understanding that. And that's where it comes down to this, about the understanding the communication and care that this agent takes, and making sure that they have a track record in that. To be able to solve a problem. I mean, some landlords actually turn around and say, well, it's all going swimmingly well, then, you know, I could just manage it myself. But it's like, when it goes horribly wrong, that's what you're paying for. You know, you're giving all the benefit to the agent when it goes well, but then when it goes horribly wrong, it's still the same price, but they're doing a lot more work to get that resolved. So it swings and roundabouts at the end of the day. And I always say to a lot of people, it's almost like an insurance policy, you know, having a letting agent looking after it, because sometimes you'll really need them and they'll have to do a lot of work, which will be offset by the times when you didn't need them and you paid them for it. Like, you know, because let's be honest, it's people say, oh, it's money for old rope. It's not. It's not. First time I pick up the phone, your fee's used for the whole month. That's effectively it. First time I pick up the phone to that tenant, your fee's gone, because basically that's about 30 quid straight away. Just to communicate and sort something out and do all the background work in order to do that. That's effectively it. It's done. So that all you need to do is phone a tenant, you know, or deal with 12 issues in a year for your managed property, and that's you got your money's worth out your letting agent, if that's really what you want to do.
Yeah, think as well, and I hear from the landlords, and they're like, "Oh, everything's going that great. I'm going to take it back and manage it myself." But I always say, well, the reason it is going great is because we're managing it.
Aye, we're managing it. Take it back then. There you go.
Aye, and then
that actually happened not long ago. Somebody took back the property.
But when you're coming back, you're paying a higher price.
2 months later, they came back and like, "I've made a mistake."
Aye.
Like, well,
yeah, because they didn't realise everything that we do in the background. So.
I see. I've had 30 years of experience of learning it the hard way, and realising, yes, I should have actually just used a letting agent.
So, so see what their system's like for giving feedback on viewings. Not every property goes in its first week on the market. Well, this obviously wasn't written on based on today's market, but anyway. And you'll want constructive advice and unfiltered commentary to know what action to take. Will you have a specific point of contact when you want to get in touch? I think that's important to be passed around for different people. It's quite confusing, I think, as long as you've got these individual peoples like Charlotte, you all have designated landlords and properties you deal with. And I think the lettings process to begin with, we have, obviously Karen does a lot of that, and she's that point of contact. And it's good that people know the individual person to go to. Ask them how and when they'll keep you up to date. I think communication again, which is really important. And happy landlords are our #1 priority, and we make sure they feel valued and remembered. And I think that is very important, that a landlord is happy with what you're providing with, the service you're providing them with, and you have that relationship where it's almost like a friendship. And like you say, Charlotte, you could pick up the phone and have a chat and just not just to discuss when something's went wrong, basically. And that's a very fundamental part of letting and property management, and I would definitely say that is the case through my years of doing it anyway. And Jim, I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the specific point of contact. I mean, we get contact from everywhere, especially social media now.
Yeah.
So instant messaging, and it's easy for us to pass on a message straight away or get that message to someone else. So it's almost like you're speaking to the right person. Whereas some of the other property management systems that run just now, it's like you've got to click through several things to actually solve your problem. But we still feel that that's maybe, that's probably just a mechanism to filter a lot of people out. But by educating your tenants and making sure they understand when they should be contacting you, when they shouldn't be contacting you, it's easy to do. And plus that can be done in quarterly inspections as well. The quarterly inspections are vital and important for that reason, because sometimes they don't want to. Oh, we don't want to bother you. You don't want to bother you at the weekend. It's like, well, your boiler's broken, so just bother us at the weekend.
Yeah.
You need to get it fixed. We need to do something about it. You can't just wait and have no hot. I mean, I had that last weekend. Classic example was the person messaged me or phoned me, and I answered, and I said, what's the position just now? What's wrong with your boiler? My boiler's not working. Okay, right, fine. Do you have hot water in the house? Do you have an electric shower for washing? And he said no. And I said, perfect. We need to deal with it now. If we had an electric shower, that's fine. You've got hot water for washing. It's warm enough outside just now. It's not the end of the world. We can manage just now. And that worked very well for that person. And we got the message, and we got the response, we got the result. I've often heard people as well saying, well, if you'd had a British Gas contract in place, that wouldn't have probably had a problem. I'm sorry, but British Gas will only respond to you between 9 and 5 during weekdays, and they will not come out at the weekend at all. They're not interested.
And I think as well, that one in particular, Jim, that you were on about, it was something so simple as the fact that he'd run out of gas with his meter and he didn't realise when he put the card in, you have to hold the button to get gas, and that's all it was.
For it to be clicked.
So for a 2-second call,
Yeah. So he could ended up having to wait all weekend to Monday morning to actually get water to wash, and get that, and yet he got an instant response via the right channels, and it was resolved very quickly for them. And I think that's all about, that comes back to the communication and care, because just as important about the communication and care for the landlords, it's just as important about communication and care for our tenants. Ultimately, we have responsibility for people's lives, their livelihood and their living conditions, and that's a huge responsibility to take on board. And that's how I look at it. And it's a privilege more than anything to have that responsibility, and for people to give you that responsibility. And that's how I look at it. I don't know how you feel about it as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it's amazing how reliant some tenants not become on us as agents and property managers. The feeling of becoming a social worker sometimes for people, but it's quite fulfilling as well sometimes, because you do help people kind of through all different aspects of their lives as well, in the process of being their managing agent, and likewise with landlords as well, and that's quite good.
You have to be a special breed of person to be a letting agent.
Yeah,
I would say. And a landlord as well, if you're a landlord. And I'm not talking about an investor, I'm talking about a landlord hands-on. You have to be a special breed of person. You have to be serving to other people, and you have to be able to do that. So your inconvenience is their convenience. You have to look at it like that all the time. And that's how you build a successful reputation and a successful agency. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. There's a nice comment from Heather. Morning, Heather. Admire your enthusiasm. Very helpful so far. But, I mean, that is how we feel, and that's how we look at letting and managing a property and dealing with our landlords and tenants. I mean, and I think that if you've got that compassion, it does show through, and that's what makes it all a good experience for everybody all round. So trust your instincts. So every letting agent you meet could say all the right things and impress you with their knowledge and results. So which one do you choose? Who could list countless more points?
Sorry, Richard. That was pointing at me. Me?
All right. I'm looking. I thought, what did I miss there? We could list countless points and endless tips of what to look for in a letting agent. But one thing you should never overlook is how it feels when you're talking to them. And I think that's, I mean, I think even when we're doing like, I think this is a big part of like tenant selection. And I think to get that feel for a person and whether they're right for the property and things as well. As a landlord or an investor choosing an agent, you should have that same kind of feeling when you're speaking to your potential agent. And I think that's, if you didn't have that feeling, then unfortunately, it's probably not the right choice for you. I would say that. Using a letting agent as a long-term relationship, as well as finding one who measures up to everything we've set out, you should also enjoy speaking to the person who will be looking after you and your investment. Someone who gives you the comforting sense that you're in safe hands. Of course, we hope you find that in us, but the best way to feel completely comfortable is to get every question and concern answered. So ask everything you want and feel 100% sure. And I mean, asking questions is definitely the way to go there. Here, Angela's put in a question here. Being a tenant, we look at it as not our house, but our family home. Fife properties were great for us. Yeah, Angela, you were a tenant with us for a good few years, and a good tenant. So thanks for that comment, Angela. But yeah, definitely, I think you need to have that feeling, and you need to ask as many questions so that you have, you feel confident within yourself that you've chose the right agent for you and what you are looking to achieve with your property and things as well. Would you agree with that, Jim?
Right. I would say gut instinct is a real good indicator. Yeah. You know, when you meet the letting agent, they could rattle off anything you want. They can give you all the handouts they want. They can have it all systematized. I mean, we know there's franchise organizations that have all that in place and all these handouts. But the reality is it's actually the boots on the ground. It's the person you speak to, and that gut reaction you get from them and you should go on that gut reaction. It speaks volumes. You know, that sixth sense is absolutely right every single time. I've worked against it for years to try and prove myself wrong when I have that. But every single time I've looked in hindsight after I've tried to prove myself wrong in situations and thought, no, it was right. It was the right thing to do. I should have done it that way in the first place. So gut instinct for meeting your letting agent for the first time is a big, big thing. What's your initial reaction? I mean, you know, even down to the fact that, is their shoes polished? I know it sounds daft, but it just tells you attention to detail. And then it tells me is how are they going to treat my biggest or my second biggest investment outside of my own house? You know, that's ultimately how are they going to treat that? How are they going to respond to that? And it's the initial appearance of that person that's going to make a fundamental difference in how that person is and how they would react. So, you know, yeah, absolutely. Ask countless questions, more points. Questions are good because they give you the answers you want. And if the person is reluctant to answer the question, then it tells you, it speaks volumes about the situation, especially some of the unusual questions, and they can't answer that on the spot, and they can't give you a logical reason. At the end of the day, it's an interview. And I often talk about that when I go into list people's houses and pitch. It's like, you know, I'll leave effectively a resume of me and my track record and my skills. It's not to show off how great I am. It's actually to say, this is my CV, and hopefully you'll employ me for the job of selling your house, your biggest tax-free asset, and that's ultimately it. So you are effectively interviewing someone. When you do that, and trusting your instincts is a big thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, very much so. I think like it is very much an interview, and I think even the person, like the agent's presentation and things. A good one you say about obviously shoes. Shoes is a big thing for me. Obviously, I'm so bad for scuffing my shoes, and I have to keep honest. I go through so many shoes, but I do it because I think. I mean, if somebody come to me and was untidily dressed or had scuffed shoes, I would think that would make me question. So these are all the different fundamental parts of.
That's also a telltale sign for your tenants as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, they turn up like that. It's like, whoa, you're not going to look after this house. So it gives you a real instinct. You trust your instincts as well as a letting agent.
Yeah, definitely. Charlotte, you agree?
Yeah, I think, like Jim said, you've got to trust your gut. You'll know when you know as soon as they walk in, and within the first minute, I think it is, they say, and you'll decide then if you like the person or not, and if you're going to go with them. But I think as well, like Jim said, if you can answer the questions that the landlord or investor are asking, then you're winning.
Yeah.
Beware for the gimmicks. Gimmicks are a big thing to try and get people on side. It's like, you know, the typical gimmicks are, we'll give you a rent guarantee for the first 6 months. We'll give you 3 months free fees to get you on board. Now, the reason that they do that is because they know if they get you on board, you're less likely to leave. Because believe it or not, the apathy in between landlords and investors in the letting industry is similar to banks and bank accounts. It's very, very rare that people will switch accounts. It has to be really, really bad before they ever do anything. Even if they do anything really bad, the banks, they'll know they didn't switch sometimes because it's too much hassle.
The hassle of doing it.
And effectively, that's what happens with letting agents. So once they've got you, proverbially by the short and curlies, you know, that's you there for good. You know, I know I'm a great one for using analogies. But effectively, that's effectively what they've got, because they've got a hold of your biggest tax-free asset outside and your biggest investments, and effectively your life savings and possibly your pension, and it's almost like you become frozen because you don't want to upset it at all in case they disrupt anything that causes a problem. And people get fearful as a result of that. So they tolerate the minor mistakes and differences in their letting agent and let them away with it effectively. But I wouldn't let them away with it at all. Well, you'll probably know that anyway.
We know that, Jim. But yeah, you're right. I mean, people, once they're like you say, once they're into that agreement with an agent, it takes a lot for them to obviously leave. Because they look at it as too much hassle to do so. And if an agent's not managing it right, then you should be concerned. You should be concerned because it's just, like you say, it could be your future, it could be your retirement, it's your investment, and it's something that you need to really be careful with and feel confident that you've got the right people looking after it for you. And very much so. And I think in summary, choosing the best letting agent for you combines practical concerns around a company's location, customer service and results, along with the personal qualities of an agent you meet and talk to. Ultimately, you want to feel that you've added value in addition to your buy-to-let business. And that's obviously what we've just covered there as well. And I think that we have covered quite a lot of good points today. And I think to recap on things like an agent with local knowledge, an agent who has got experience, and I think an agent that you could relate to and build a friendship as such with is definitely key parts of obviously having an agent that's right for you. And I think you'll be in agreement with that, Jim. And I think Jim, as you say, obviously you could be I'm not going to say a difficult landlord, but quite a
challenging.
Yeah, that's the word. But it's good because I mean it makes you question what you do on a daily basis, I think, and it's managing expectations, I think, as well.
Well, you know yourself, I give you guys a hard time because if you can deal with me, you can deal with any landlord, to be honest. And
I'll agree with that.
And the great thing is, the reason I do that is because it raises your standard, so you actually deliver a higher standard for everybody else as a result of what you're doing. And ultimately everybody else benefits because of that. So it's having that knowledge and having that experience and track record, it stands us in good stead when other people come on board, so they can actually trust us in doing that.
Oh, definitely. And I think to learn for someone with like obviously years of experience and knowledge and things is just amazing. I mean, if I think back 10 years ago to what I know now and the things, I mean, it's completely different. It's like night and day. And Charlotte, you've picked up a lot of things in recent years, obviously doing this. So
yeah, and like you said, Jim, there, I think I've learned a lot more since taking on your properties and managing your properties. I have learned so much that I didn't think I could learn. But no, it's honing your skills as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, because effectively what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to teach you how I would do it. And how I would respond to it, and I'm trying to teach you the commercial realities and the techniques and tips I've learned over all these years, of the 30 years I've been doing this, and letting you understand that this is how you do it, and to get and to have that experience and knowledge to get the best result, because sometimes you can. I'm not really sure how to say it. You can do it in a certain way in order to get a better result, and it's not just relying on, because a lot of letting agents do hide behind legislation and terms and conditions, and it's like it used to drive me crazy, because I used to try, and before I had the letting agency and before Fife Properties, I actually tried to train other letting agencies to do what I do and impart that knowledge on them to get better and raise their standards, and they just drove me crazy because they didn't get it. They didn't understand this is why I was trying to do it. They should have gone, wow, this is a masterclass, effectively. I'm not trying to be big-headed. I'll need a double door to get out the room. But this is a masterclass in how to do this. This guy's got a track record, so surely I should learn as much as possible from him. And it's like, no, it just fell on deaf ears.
Yeah.
And effectively, that's why I ended up having a letting agency, because I got sick to death of having to, try and get other letting agencies to do what I was doing, and I couldn't do it all myself, so I had to build the proper team in order to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and it's great to learn from experience, and I think you could buy it, but you pay a lot of money for it. But then you can't buy experience like what you could pass along. So, and that is a big part of how we function as quite a successful property management and letting side. So, and we're just approaching about the hour mark, guys.
Yeah, so, perfect. That's wind up time. Need to get on Instagram, so it needs to be under an hour.
I know. Any final thoughts on today's topic, Charlotte? I mean, it's really interesting. We could talk about it all day, to be honest. But
that's it. I think trust whatever you go for and whoever you go for. Just make sure that you've got 100% trust in them, and that's what I would say. You got to trust them, and if you don't, then are you picking the right one?
Yeah. Ultimately, for me, it's about getting access to a higher level of knowledge and expertise in a letting agent. So if you've got a classic example, I mean, no, everybody's got an owner, landlord, investor. But if you have an owner, landlord, investor, it's actually trying to get access to that person as well in order to teach you what to do and how to maximize your rent and income. That's a really big one as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, trust, communication, and I think, like you said, Jim, got instinct. So, but yeah, so thanks for joining me this morning, guys. That was great having a chat, and I'll wrap it up there and say goodbye, everybody, and we'll see everybody next week.
Brilliant. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks.
Have a nice day.